So hi. So Ellen, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Amano. And I would love for you to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about this amazing company.
Yes, of course. Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here today and to chat with you. My name is Ellen, and I'm the creative director of the brand, which is a brand that was born out of the Andes in Peru, which I was very lucky to live in Peru for about 5 or 6 years, which is where I came across the brand and fell in love with the yarns. And Amano is the in-house brand of a large alpaca mill called Inca Tops. And Amano was based on the concept of nature and generosity and building a luxury brand using the incredible fibers that are prevalent in the Andes of Peru and in the Andes in general, because obviously the Andes stretch all the way down into parts of Argentina, Bolivia, and all of these amazing Latin American countries all have their own distinctive culture, languages. They have their own food, and it's just so incredible to be there and to see how fibers are used in the ancient textile cultures and techniques. One of them being weaving, which is obviously very, very famous, that comes out of Peru, where they use alpaca for weaving, and a lot of it was very typically naturally dyed. And then also they did weaving in Pima cotton as well.
I did a lot of the weaving on a backstrap loom, right? So
exactly.
sort of like smaller bits that were then put together.
Yeah, so the backstrap loom is a loom that you kind of fit around your waist, and it's typically something that women did, and it's a loom that's thousands of years old. It's one of the oldest looms in the world. And then when Latin America was colonized by the Spanish, they brought over the larger looms, and they also brought over knitting needles. So that's when the knitting culture kind of took off there as well. So all of these kind of textile crafts all kind of come back to these Andean communities that needed to wear kind of very, very warm and cozy fibers to keep them warm.
Yeah.
And these woven pieces were also had a very, very high cultural value in the Inca times. Okay. So the Incas are a constant source of inspiration for the brand. It's something that we use in all of our storytelling, and it's very fun to be able to research the history and the culture and think about exciting ways to kind of bring that to a wider audience that maybe don't know that much about the Incas, because they had a very incredible and beautiful way of life. So in their culture, textiles often had the highest kind of value and monetary value, and they traded them for things like food and meats and one of our yarns is actually called Aini, which is named after this ancient textile exchange process that used to exist in the Andes and still exists actually in some communities. So it's, there's a lot of romance, there's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of culture there. So Amano was born out of this kind of amazing foundation that Peru has of history and legacy and culture. And the yarns are all 100% natural. Not all of them are Peruvian fibers, so we do like to mix with other fibers from other parts of the world. So mulberry silk features, cashmere. Obviously these are not native to Peru, but we like to use them in different ways to make nice blends. But obviously 100% alpaca is very much Peruvian and Andean fiber, and the same with Pima cotton. Right. So we're really excited to work on new products each year and to have fun creating new concepts for each yarn that we develop. And there's a lot of thought that goes into each one. There's a lot of development time. There's a lot of research, storytelling. Each name of each yarn signifies a different concept. So everything has been very, very thoughtful at every stage. And I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with the Amano team in Peru and to visit the mills and visit the farmers and, see their sustainable practices. And it's just incredible, the skill and the talent that exists there. I'll never forget, one of my most amazing moments is just learning that all alpaca in Peru is sorted by hand.
Oh, so, no kidding.
Yeah. It's sorted by hand. All alpaca is sorted by hand. So
anything is it graded by hand and then sorted? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
How many
merino
years
wool,
do you have to train to do that?
yeah, exactly. So a lot of them are women that have been working in and around alpaca for their whole lives. They learn it from a very, very young age, and their mother teaches them. So it's this kind of,
Wow.
it's still this ancestral knowledge of textile craft that women will sit there with kind of the fleece and be able to pick out which part is the baby alpaca, which part is the imperial alpaca. It's honestly, yeah,
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Romantic, very beautiful, and not a lot of people know that. So I'm always very keen to tell people that that is actually exists in a hand sorting method. So a lot of our yarns are hand sorted as well. So our Peruvian wool, that's the, you know, I'm wearing that now, which is called llana, and our Peruvian wool is basically you know, the merino wool of Peru, and it looks and feels and acts like a merino wool, and that's sorted by hand as well. It's the softest Peruvian wool on the market, and it's just gorgeous. Very passionate about that product. And then also, you know, the reason that it's sorted by hand is because there aren't any machines that sort alpaca, whereas with other fibers like cashmere and merino wool, kind of the machinery has already been developed and is used in other mills around the world. But with alpaca, this machine doesn't exist yet, which I'm also hoping it never will, so that,
Right.
you know, this tradition can continue and people can continue to work at this incredible level of skill. So yeah, there's so much to talk about with Peru and textiles and fibers in general. And yeah, I know that you're particularly very interested in chasqui, which is a
Chasqui
yarn.
is the yarn we're introducing this week. So
Wonderful.
how long has Chasqui been in the line?
I would say it was released last year.
Last year. Okay.
So I believe we're going into, no, it was sorry, the year before last. So I guess, sorry, time is so confusing at
Oh
the
my
moment.
gosh. Yes.
It's like
COVID.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chasqui was about 2 years old, and we are, you know, really passionate about it because it combines, you know, 3 beautiful fibers. So the superwash merino wool, the Pima cotton, which obviously is a Peruvian, Andean fiber, Latin American fiber, and then linen. And I think the linen just gives it that edge. It has a kind of softness, but it also has like a toughness to it. And it's easy care and easy wash. So it's just been a hit since the day we launched it, really, and everyone kind of goes crazy over it. And it's I love the way the color has come out in it. So a big part of my job is the creative color work and you know, developing color palettes that reflect the concept. And what we really loved about Chasqui was this idea of like spring in the Andes, and how the landscape kind of comes to life there. So each kind of colorway has been named and developed especially regarding that season. And you know, the color comes up.
I have a quick question for you about the color. So oftentimes when wool and plant-based fibers are mixed, the only thing that's dyed in it is the wool. Is that the case in this one, or do you dye all of the different fibers?
We dye all of the different fibers together.
All the different fibers. Okay, and all together. So it's all been, it's dyed essentially in the hank.
Yes.
Okay, great. Lovely.
Yeah.
And what does Chasqui mean?
Here. Sorry, we have the color palette here, which, as you can see, is
it's so pretty.
Very spring-like. And like I say, the color comes out quite muted, and I think that's because of the linen. It's kind of like a washed out kind of shade, which is really nice. It makes it very soft and very enjoyable for, you know, spring and summer and kind of the warmer climates. So Chasqui is the name of, so I'm sure you're familiar with the Inca Trail, which is a huge network of roads that were built all over the Incan Empire. And obviously they didn't have horses. So travel was a very different kind of thing in Latin America during the Inca times. So they would actually have runners that would pass messages on between different parts of the continent. And as you can imagine, these kind of messengers would run for miles, and they would be typically young men. And that's what the Chasqui is named after, of these messengers that would carry these messages in the empire. And I don't know the facts off the top of my head, but I've been told that they were very, very fast at doing their job and very good at it. And
there's a whole running tradition and even a running sandal that has come out of that historical culture. And it's been too long since I thought about it, but I'm going to have to look that up because, yeah, that's so interesting. That's lovely. And it is made as a sock yarn, right? I mean, that was sort of one of the intentions, although it's an unusual fiber content for most of us for sock yarn. So tell us about that.
So it was developed as a sock yarn, but we found that it's actually been very successful for other types of projects as well, baby projects and almost anything else in between, because people kind of fall in love with it. You know, and they want to use it for other things. But I feel that sock yarns, you know, superwash merino wool works really well with socks, and so does cotton. So I feel like that was a really nice balance of blends to make it kind of easy care. So obviously superwash wool means that it can be thrown into the machine and washed, and especially with socks you do want to wash them more frequently than other items, for example. So I feel like we got the balance just right there on the fibers, which has made it very successful, a very successful yarn, which we're really, really happy about.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. So we actually had Charla, one of our partners, knitted up a sample of a sock. And I will say that Charla loves making socks. She's very, very particular about fibers. And I always ask people to give me honest opinions back, right? Because there's no use in mincing words. And so I was really curious to see what she would think about it. And she was completely in love with it. And so when we introduce it, I'm super excited to have her actually talk about it because it is interesting. When you feel the yarn for the first time, you're going to feel the linen, right? So you feel that sort of unusual, super strong sort of fiber that comes through it. And linen, as we all know, the more you work with it, the more you wear it, the softer and softer it gets. So it's not a harsh yarn to the touch. Please don't get me wrong. It's lovely. You just feel some strength to it.
Yes.
And I think that little bit of linen is just going to be amazing for how the socks will wear. And for us, this is a year-round apparel, right? This is going to be a perfect apparel, sweater, top, right? Tank top, all of that sort of thing, yarn. So we're super excited about it.
Yeah, great. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's a wonderful yarn, and we get so much great feedback as well. So it's not surprising that you're also in love with it.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. So Sammy is the other Amano yarn that we currently carry. So tell us a little bit about Sammy.
Oh, Sammy is very, very dear to me because, you know, we're a, you know, a luxury yarn company, and, you know, we started off as an alpaca company. So to do a yarn that is 100% cotton feels somewhat controversial. But, you know, Pima cotton is the most incredible cotton, and I'm not sure if many of your followers have used it yet or have touched it, but it really is an experience unlike any other. It is often named the silk of the South, which is something that I really can understand because it is so beautifully soft. It is like a silk. And Peru, like in Peru, Pima cotton grows in abundance on the coast. So, you know, we were moving away from this kind of feeling of being cold, being in the Andes, being high up, you know, these kind of glacial landscapes. We were moving more towards the coast, feeling the sunshine, feeling the warmth. It felt really kind of a nice transition for us, especially with the colorways and especially with the new customers that we knew we'd be reaching with this. And we felt like it was a great yarn for children's wear and for just about anything else in between. I actually knit a really cute sweater for my niece in these yarns, and we developed a colorway that really spoke to the kind of coastal concept of in Peru. And again, this yarn has been really, really popular. We're adding more colors each year. We've actually recently separated our collection into a summer and spring and fall and winter collection, which I feel like is a really nice transition for us. But also the best thing about Sammy, which I'm leaving till last, is the fact that it's an organic cotton. Which is really, really, really important to me because I'm very interested in sustainability. I'm very interested in fibers that have a low environmental impact. As we know, linen is one of the lowest impact fibers out there, and organic cotton is just incredible. So for those of you who don't know, cotton is a very, very taxing crop. And it's one of the most labor intensive and also water intensive crops out there. So it actually has a lot of damage on the land, and that's not considering the pesticides that are used. So the pesticides that are used in cotton and normal cotton farming is really, really, really damaging to the environment, and not just to the environment, but to the people that work on the fields. So I was lucky enough to go and visit the organic cotton fields, plantations in Peru, and talk to the farmers, and they were saying that their lifespan has increased so much because their parents and their parents' parents were dying at such a young age, which is so tragic from working on the field.
Right.
Yeah. So to see the
that's
impact.
so lovely to know that change has happened.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Peru is one of the, obviously I know India grows a lot of organic cotton. Still, organic cotton doesn't hold a large place in the cotton market as much as it should do. But I think that if anyone is thinking about switching to organic cotton, they should definitely do it. It's an amazing thing to invest in for the farmers, for their families, for the environment. You know, just in terms of the effects on wildlife, you know, normal cotton kills off a lot of wildlife, and organic cotton, wildlife can thrive and grow, and it's a very beautiful thing to see. So our Sami means kindness in Quechua, which is the native language of the Andes, and all of our names of our yarns are named in this language, which is the indigenous language of Peru. And Sami means kindness because it's about being kind to the environment and being kind to your skin and being kind to the people who work on this amazing fiber. So yeah, I was talking about Pima cotton yesterday with another brand actually, and just how important it is to put kind of fibers close to your skin that are soft and that are non-toxic. You know, our skin being the largest organ in our body, I think we forget that sometimes.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's interesting because for us, in Southern California, everything that we knit essentially touches us because we don't wear multiple layers, right? Because it's quite warm. And so we are maybe even slightly more tactile, slightly more picky about it, about all of the fibers, because it's always going to touch us. And I have to say that Sami is flat out the softest cotton I have ever touched. It is just butter, but it's also strong. And I really like this about it. There are some other cottons that are sort of a brushed cotton that are also very soft, but they don't wear as well, right? So this one is just gorgeous. It's soft. It's amazing. And it makes like a baby blanket that's unreal.
Yeah, right? It's amazing. And actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that it's the softest, and we worked really hard on the tension of the yarn to create that softness, because if it's not wound to, like spun too tightly, it can have a lot more softness, but that also can mean it's less strong. So it was a really balance between getting that softness right and getting the strength right, that meant that that kind of beautiful hand feel could be reflected in the yarn. And yeah, it also has like a very kind of subtle shine to it as well, which I love. And
that's from the Pima, right? That's a result of Pima?
Yeah, Pima. Pima is a long-haired cotton. It has a very, very long hair to it. Actually, as well in Peru, there is a type of cotton called native cotton, and it's a colored cotton that grows in Peru, and it's kind of a coffee color, an avocado color, and a cream color. And this also is very soft and very beautiful. And Pima and native cotton are also some of the oldest cottons in the world. So yeah, amazing. I could just talk about fibers all day.
I know. So could I. So do they ever use the native cotton in a yarn, or do they?
We don't actually use it in Amano, but I've been trying to get that on board for a while. We may do in the future. I think it would be a beautiful product. It grows in the cotton buds in green. It's a very soft green, but it's colored. It's beautiful. Yeah, I think if you were to go visit any of the native indigenous groups around the coast that still weave, they weave in Pima cotton. So then you get these gorgeous woven pieces in these natural colors that are this soft cotton, and it's just beautiful. And the most amazing thing about this cotton as well is that it hasn't disintegrated. So you can still see ancient textiles that are thousands of years old that haven't disintegrated with the weather in Peru. So it's one of those amazing coastal fibers that grows there for a reason. And so that of course makes sense for you guys, you know. And
Oh
I
yeah.
remember, you know, like that's perfect for you. So I remember I went to a trade show in the States, and everyone that was from the West Coast was just crazy about cotton.
Right, right. I
So
know. Yeah. And because
absolutely.
we live in such a warm weather place, one of our goals is to have like really lovely warm weather knitting fibers because they're harder to find, right? Wool is easier to knit with, it's more forgiving. And so there's things that you just have to learn on in how to do this. But I'm kind of feeling a trip to Peru coming up as a knitting adventure one of these days for our group because this just sounds amazing. So I'm going to have to call you in the future and say, what should we do? But
Yeah,
I
of
am
course.
curious, what does Amano mean?
Amano. So actually, it's actually two words. So a mano means by hand,
Ah,
and then the words have just been squidged together to make
okay.
Amano. Which, you know, I wasn't actually there when the brand was founded. I came on a little bit later, but it's just a joy. It's an amazing job, and it's taken me all around the world, and I get to meet lots of lovely people like yourself and lots of amazing yarn store owners and knitters. And you know, we develop our pattern book every year, and we've just kind of shot our pattern book for next fall winter, so this kind of fall winter 21. And we're really excited about it. We're also bringing out our spring collection as well, which that will have, you know, the Chasqui, the Sami. We also have a new cotton that we're releasing this year, which is top secret, but it's also a Pima cotton, so I can't wait to share that with you. But I think you're going to love it. Because cotton's been such a big hit for us, so we're really excited about building out that family. So I don't know if you know, Yana is our Peruvian wool. We started off with just Yana, and then we developed Yana extra large. Then we developed skinny Yana, which is the lace weight Peruvian wool, and then we developed Yana Journeys, which is hand painted Yana. So I have the same kind of vision for Sami. So Sami's kind of family can start growing and expanding and kind of having her own little, you know, babies.
I love that. That sounds
Yeah.
exciting. And okay, so I have the best rep ever for the Barocco line, right? For the whole group. And I've sort of like told her no on several things, but I can apparently tell I'm going to have to call her up and say I need a sample of Yana, because I've just in my mind it was Peruvian wool. In the standard way of Peruvian wool. And so now I'm super, super curious about it.
Yes, you
So
should
thank
get a
you.
sample and you'll fall in love. It's my favorite yarn, and we're always adding new colors. I think it holds a very dear place in my heart because it was the first yarn that I developed with Amano, and it has a, you know, it really just, I have very, very fond memories of doing that project. So yeah, we're really, really excited about that. You know, coming up in the next year, we have more cotton to add, and it's just been fantastic adding a spring summer collection for customers like yourselves and yarn stores that don't necessarily need these heavy winter fibers because of the climate differences. You know, obviously I'm not American, but it's hard for me to get my head around just how big the States is and how many different kind of climates and seasons and likes and dislikes and you know, just it's very hard to understand all the different, you know, kind of knitters and knitting cultures that exist there, but it's wonderful. You have some amazing knitters and amazing stores as well, so it's great to be able to like meet your needs a bit more with that spring summer collection as well.
Yes, well, we are always happy to give feedback, and no, it is interesting. It is, the country is huge, and certainly the knitters are, and what people want, it varies quite a bit. So I know that my people will be very, very mad at me if I do not ask you, where are you and where do you live?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. So I'm British, and I usually live in New York. However, because of COVID, I'm back in the UK at the moment. So I live in the north of the UK, just outside Manchester, temporarily. And as soon as travel and the borders open up, I'll be straight back to New York as quick as I can because I love it there. So normally I do a lot of traveling within the States and, going to trade shows. And I'd be really keen to meet you guys there soon. Obviously we've got to all wait for this to be over, but you might see my face again, hopefully someday.
Oh my gosh. Well, when you make it to California, Southern California, because it's a huge state, let me know. And yes, we would love to see you. That would be fantastic. And then, okay, so you mentioned the pattern book, and pattern books come out every year. I sort of discovered by mistake, super happily, and embarrassed to note that I didn't know this, but on Ravelry, there is an Amano design page.
We sell all of our patterns on Ravelry, and we work with international designers from Europe and the States. And we have some really, really wonderful patterns there that are, pattern support for our lovely yarns. So I would definitely recommend going and checking out our Ravelry site, where you can download and buy digital downloads, as well as the pattern book, which is, a printed version of that.
Right. And so I think when I was looking on there, I saw the books for like 2016, 17, and 18, but I didn't see like a 19 or a 20. Do I look in different places for the Amano books versus the pattern?
That's strange. That should be there. I mean, I don't know why that wouldn't be there, but I do know that they're distributed by yarn stores as opposed to potentially on the Ravelry store. But I can definitely get back to you with some further information on that.
And I will just do some little research on my own as well. And we'll find that, because I'd like to make sure that we can get patterns to people, because the patterns I saw were just absolutely beautiful. So one last question, how many yarns do you guys introduce a year, and what is the sort of thought process behind introducing a new yarn?
That's a really good question. We normally do one autumn winter, one fall winter, and then one spring summer, but it just depends on the trends in the market. It also depends on what's been selling well for us and really leaning into that. So as I mentioned previously, Yana is such a great yarn for us, so it really makes sense for us to kind of develop that mini collection in more detail. And the same with the cotton. We now know that Sami works really, really well for us and for our customers, so we really want to start developing more in cotton. But yeah, we normally start looking at trends, and I normally supply kind of my findings. I travel a lot with work, and I go to a lot of yarn stores all over Europe, the States. So I see a lot and get a lot of feedback, and I kind of put that all together. We have 2 or 3 huge meetings where we brainstorm ideas, and then we move on from there. And a lot of it comes from the yarn itself. It's all about the yarn and how it speaks to us. We are launching another sock yarn this year as well, which I'm really excited to share. So that's a new idea. I mean, there are some as well that we kind of come back to. We think maybe now's not right, but maybe next year is better. Those kinds of questions. And the team in Peru are just fantastic, and they're experts in this field. So they give me, I'm the creative. So I'm the one that has all the wild ideas and gets told that I can't do the majority of them, basically.
Right.
And they're the ones saying, right, we need to do the research, we need the numbers, we need to know, all of this stuff. So, it's a really nice balance of working in that way, where they'll kind of say, hang on a second, this is beautiful, is it going to work?
That's my role for our company too. I come up with crazy things, and then my business partners are like, no, Molly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we understand each other then,
Yes. And it's good. And we need those people that balance us, for sure.
Yes.
Lord knows they don't let me near the checkbook.
Oh, I know. I need my feet on the ground a little bit, because I don't think very far ahead. I just think, let's do this, it'll be wonderful. And then, okay, let's calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been so delightful, and I really, really appreciate your taking the time. We spent a week trying to figure out a time with the different time zones of when we could get together and record this. And so thank you so much for your patience with that and for getting together with us.
Thank you, Molly. No, it's been delightful, and please keep in touch and just let me know if there's anything else you need. And it's been lovely spending a bit of time with you today.
Thank you very much. And when you're in California and back in the States, let us know and we'll come and see you.
Yes,
so
I would love
come see us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.